She kissed a stranger to save her life. That single desperate act in a dark alley bound her soul to a creature that shouldn't exist. Half angel, half demon, and utterly lethal. Now Nina can feel his rage burning through her veins, can sense his centuries of pain like it's her own, can't escape the terrifying truth. He was sent to kill her, spent 3 weeks planning her murder, watched her, learned her routines, prepared to end her life quickly, cleanly, without mercy. But the kiss changed everything. Created a bond that makes her death physically impossible for him to execute. And in 11 months, when celestial armies descend to collect a blood debt her great-great-grandmother left unpaid, Nina will have to choose. Let the man she's falling for sacrifice himself to save her, or watch thousands of innocents die because one woman dared to run from heaven's cruelty over a century ago. But there's something Cale hasn't told her. Something about his sister. About the real reason he accepted the contract to kill Nina in the first place. A reason that will shatter everything she thought she knew about sacrifice, love, and the terrible price of defying divine law. Because some debts can't be paid with just one life. And some bonds, once broken, destroy both souls forever. The angels are coming. And this time, love won't be enough to save them. The first thing Nina noticed was the smell. Incense and something else. Something wrong. Like copper left in the sun too long, or flowers rotting in holy water. She pressed her back against the alley wall, phone clutched in trembling fingers. The screen glowed 3% battery. Enough to see the time. 2:17 a.m. Not enough to call anyone who'd actually answer. 3 blocks back, she'd felt it. That crawling sensation between her shoulder blades. The one her grandmother used to call the dead watching. Nina had laughed it off for 28 years, called it anxiety, took pills for it. But pills didn't explain why the 2 men in white had been following her since she left her shift at the diner. Pills didn't explain why their eyes reflected light like animals, why their smiles showed too many teeth. They turned the corner. Nina ran. Her sneakers slapped wet pavement. São Paulo's streets were never truly empty, but tonight felt like the city had been scraped clean. Just her. Just them. Just the sound of her breath tearing from her lungs in ragged gasps. She burst onto Rua Augusta. Music pulsed from a bar ahead. People. Safety. She could lose herself in the crowd, pretend to be meeting friends, wait until those things in white gave up, and a hand closed around her wrist. Ice shot up her arm. Not cold. Worse. Absence. Like her grandmother's hand the day she died. Already emptying of warmth, of life, of everything that made flesh human. Nina spun. The man in white stood inches away. Up close, she could see his face was wrong. Too symmetrical. Too perfect. Like a mannequin wearing human skin. "Descendant," he said. His voice echoed, layered, as if multiple people spoke through one throat. "Your debt comes due tonight." Nina's vision blurred. Debt? She barely made rent. Student loans, sure, but this wasn't a collection agency. This was movement in her peripheral vision. A man leaned against the bar's entrance. Tall, dark clothes, watching. Nina didn't think. She ripped free from the thing in white and threw herself forward. Her hands found the stranger's jacket. Expensive leather. Warm. Real. She grabbed his face, fingers tangling in dark hair, and kissed him. The world stopped. Heat exploded through her body. Not arousal, not exactly. Something deeper. Older. Like touching a live wire plugged directly into the base of her spine. Every nerve ending lit up at once. She tasted copper and ozone, and something indefinable. Something that made her hindbrain scream, "This is not human," even as her body melted into him. The stranger went rigid. Then his hand slid to the back of her neck, anchoring her against him. His lips were surprisingly soft. The kiss deepened. She felt his heartbeat against her chest. Slow. Too slow. 3 beats in the span where hers hammered 10. Someone cleared their throat. Nina pulled back, gasping. The stranger's eyes met hers. Her stomach dropped. One eye was gold. Pure, molten gold, like metal heated past the point of safety. The other was deep amber streaked with crimson, the color of dying embers. Interesting choice, he said. His voice was smoke and velvet and broken glass. He looked past her, at the men in white. She's claimed. Leave. The thing in white hissed, actual hissing, like steam escaping a ruptured pipe. Nephilim. This doesn't concern your kind. It does now. The stranger's grip on Nina's neck tightened fractionally. Not painful. Possessive. She invoked protection. I'm feeling generous tonight. Walk away while you still have the option. For one suspended moment, Nina thought they'd fight. The air itself seemed to thicken, pressing against her eardrums. The streetlights flickered. Shadows stretched too long, too dark, pooling at the stranger's feet like living things. The men in white retreated, just turned and walked away, their 2 perfect faces blank. Nina's knees buckled. The stranger caught her, one arm around her waist, effortlessly supporting her full weight. He steered her into the bar's alcove, away from the street, away from eyes. What? Nina managed. The hell was that? You kissed me. He studied her face with clinical interest. Those mismatched eyes tracked every micro-expression. Why? They were, I thought. Her voice cracked. What are you? Complicated. He released her, stepping back. Without his support, she swayed. He frowned. You're not going to faint, are you? I don't faint. Nina pressed her palm against the cold brick wall. Solid, real. Unlike everything else tonight. Those men, they said something about a debt, about me being a descendant. Something shifted in his expression. A sharpening, like a predator catching scent of prey. Your full name, he said. Why would I tell you that? Because 30 seconds ago, you shoved your tongue down my throat to save your life. Seems like we're past introductions. He crossed his arms. The motion made his leather jacket creak. Name. Nina's jaw clenched, but he had a point, and those things might come back. Nina. Nina Castelli. He went very still. The silence stretched. Somewhere down the street, a car alarm. Wailed. Inside the bar, someone laughed. Normal sounds. Normal world. Except Nina's world had just tilted sideways and she didn't know how to make it right itself again. Castelli, he repeated. Your family. Where are they from originally? My great-great-grandmother immigrated from Italy, Liguria region. Nina's grandmother had been obsessed with family history, had made Nina memorize the genealogy. Why does that matter? It matters. He ran a hand through his hair. It fell perfectly back. Into place, because of course it did. Because apparently tonight she'd kissed some kind of supernatural male model who scared literal monsters. Your great-great-grandmother. She have a first name? Lucia. Lucia Castelli. The words felt heavy leaving her mouth. She came to Brazil alone, pregnant. Never talked about the father. The stranger laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Of course she did. Of course you're... He trailed off, jaw working. When he looked at her again, something burned in. Those impossible eyes. You just made this infinitely more complicated. Made what complicated? Nina's voice rose. I don't know you. I don't know what those things were. I don't know why. You feel it. He took a step closer. Nina's back hit the wall. Right here. His hand hovered over her sternum, not touching, but she felt heat radiating from his palm. Like something just woke up inside you. Like your blood is too hot and too cold at the same time. Like you can feel me even though I'm not touching you. She could. God help her, she could. His proximity made her skin prickle, made her breath catch, made her body lean toward him even as her mind screamed to run. "What did you do to me?" she whispered. "I didn't do anything." His hand dropped. "You did this. You kissed me. You invoked an ancient protection without knowing what it meant. And now..." He stopped, turned away. His shoulders were rigid. "Now you're my problem." "Your problem?" Anger flared hot in Nina's chest. "Excuse me?" "Mate bond." He said it like a diagnosis. Terminal. Rare as hell. Happens when a Nephilim and their compatible partner exchange blood or saliva during a moment of extreme emotional intensity. Congratulations. You just tied yourself to me. The world tilted again. Nina grabbed the wall for support. Tied? What does that mean? It means I feel what you feel. It means your fear is crawling under my skin right now like ants. It means those celestial hunters won't stop coming for you. And staying near me puts a target on your back the size of Sao Paulo. He looked back at her. It also means I can't let you die. The bond won't allow it. Physically painful, you dying. So yes, you're my problem now. Nephilim, Nina said slowly. You're saying you're half angel, half demon, an abomination by both sides' standards. King of said abominations, currently. His smile was bitter. And you, Nina Castelli, just became the one thing I've been searching for. The descendant of, Lucia. The girl whose family owes a debt written in blood and sealed by heaven itself. Her heart stopped. What debt? The one I was sent to collect. His eyes, gold and crimson, held hers. I was supposed to kill you tonight. Nina's apartment looked smaller with him in it. Kyle. He'd finally given her a name after she'd stopped hyperventilating in the alley. Just the one word. No last name. Like he was a celebrity or a weapon. Maybe both. He stood in the center of her cramped living room, hands in his pockets, scanning everything with those predator eyes. Taking inventory. Calculating exits. She recognized the behavior. She'd done the same thing when Marcus, her ex, had started getting controlling. Always knowing where the door was. Always ready to run. You live alone, Kyle said. Not a question. Yes. Nina locked the deadbolt. For all the good it would do against things that moved like those men in white. I suppose you're going to tell me that's dangerous now. It was always dangerous. You just didn't know it. She moved to the kitchen. Her hands needed something to do or she'd start screaming. The kettle went on the stove. Tea. Normal people made tea after soul-destroying revelations about supernatural debts and assassination orders. You said you were supposed to kill me. Past tense. I was. He hadn't moved. 3 weeks ago, I tracked you down. Watched you. Learned your patterns. Where you worked. Where you lived. When you'd be most vulnerable. His voice was flat. Clinical. Like he was describing grocery shopping. I had a plan. Clean. Quick. You wouldn't have suffered. Nina's hand froze on the cabinet door. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to be honest. She pulled down 2 mugs. Slammed them on the counter harder than necessary. So what changed? Why didn't you do it? The bond. The bond happened 20 minutes ago. I know. For the first time, something like frustration cracked through his control. Which means I've spent 3 weeks wanting to complete my mission and finding excuses not to. Telling myself I needed more information. Better timing. Some rational reason to delay. He turned to face her fully. Turns out my subconscious knew something I didn't. That you were compatible. That if we ever touched, if circumstances ever aligned, the bond would snap into place and make killing you impossible. The kettle screamed. Nina poured water over tea bags, watching the liquid darken. Steam rose between them. You feel what I feel. That's what you said. Emotions. Physical pain. The stronger the feeling, the clearer it comes through. He accepted the mug she held out. their fingers brushing. Heat lanced up her arm. His eyes flickered, crimson overtaking gold for a heartbeat. Like that. You feel it too. She did. That electric current. That wrongness that felt right. She pulled her hand back, cradling her mug against her chest. The debt. You said my family owes heaven. What did my great-great-grandmother do? Cale sat on her worn couch without asking, made himself at home like he belonged there. Maybe he did now. The thought made her want to throw up. Lucia Castelli was chosen. 137 years ago, the Celestial Council needed to purify corrupted territory in Liguria. Demon infestation. The ritual required a willing sacrifice. A pure soul offered freely to cleanse the taint. They wanted to kill her, Nina said. They wanted her to die in service to heaven. There's a difference in their eyes. His mouth twisted. She agreed, went through the preparation, fasted, prayed, the whole performance. Then the night before the ritual, she ran. Got on a ship to Brazil. Disappeared. Nina sank into the chair across from him. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. She broke a deal with angels. Worse. She broke a blood oath. Celestial law doesn't have a statute of limitations. The debt passes down through the bloodline until it's paid. He took a sip of tea, made a face, set it aside. Every generation, they send hunters. Your great-grandmother died in a fire. Your grandmother had a heart attack at 52. Your mother... Car accident, Nina whispered. I was 7. Not an accident. The room blurred. Nina pressed her palms against her eyes. Behind her lids, she saw her mother's smile, heard her laugh, remembered the police at the door, their careful sympathy, the way her grandmother had collapsed in the hallway. Why didn't they kill me sooner? Her voice came out thick. I'm 28. They had decades. You weren't the last one. Cale leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Your grandmother had a sister. She died 6 months ago in Portugal. You became the final descendant the day she passed. That's when the countdown started. Countdown to what? The corruption in Liguria has spread. It's killing humans now. Slowly. Cancer clusters. Stillbirths. Madness. The council decided the debt must be paid within 1 year of the last descendant being identified, or they'll use more extreme measures. His jaw tightened. Extreme meaning they'll raze the entire territory. Thousands dead. Nina's tea sloshed over the rim of her mug, burning her hand. She barely felt it. So either I die, or thousands of people die. That's the idea. And you were sent to make sure I died. I'm Nephilim. We exist in the margins between heaven and hell. Both sides use us for the jobs too dirty for their hands. His laugh was hollow. Executing a debt-bound human, perfect Nephilim work, keeps the council's halos shiny. But you didn't do it. Nina met his eyes. Gold and crimson and something almost human underneath. Why tell them you would if you weren't sure? His expression shuddered. I had my reasons. What reasons? Not your concern. You were going to kill me. I think it's very much my concern. They stared at each other. The silence stretched taut as wire. Outside, a siren wailed past. Normal city sounds. Normal. Night. Except nothing would be normal again. Cale spoke first. I needed the contract. The council offered me something in exchange for your death. Something I've been trying to get for 200 years. His hands curled into fists on his knees. They have someone I care about, a prisoner, leverage to ensure Nephilim cooperation. Your death buys her freedom. Nina's breath caught. Her? My sister. Half-sister, technically. Serafina. His voice went soft. Dangerous. She's been in celestial custody since she was 16. 183 years. Because she dared to question whether exterminating Nephilim children was just. The apartment felt too small, too hot. Nina stood, paced to the window. São Paulo spread below, lights glittering like fallen stars. How many of those people knew what moved in the spaces between their normal lives? How many would die if she chose herself? You said the bond makes killing me impossible, she said to the glass. Her reflection looked pale, haunted. But someone else could do it. You could tell the council you failed. They'd send someone else. They would. Then tell them. No. She turned. Why not? Cale stood slowly, moved toward her with that predator grace, stopped just close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. Because the bond works both ways. I feel what you feel, Nina. Right now, you're terrified. You're grieving. You're furious at a universe that would put this choice on your shoulders. His hand rose, hovering near her face but not touching. And underneath all of that, you're hoping I'll tell you there's another way, that I'll protect you, that someone finally will choose you first. Tears burned her eyes. She hated that he was right, hated that this stranger could read her like text on a page. There is no other way, she said. There might be. His hand dropped. The ritual requires a willing sacrifice. Lucia's sin was fleeing. But if a descendant offers themselves willingly, with full knowledge the debt is satisfied, the corruption is cleansed, everyone lives. Everyone except me. Yes. Nina laughed. It came out broken. So my options are, die now and save people I've never met, or run and let you lose your sister and maybe trigger a massacre. Those are great options, really stellar. There's a third option. Cale's voice dropped lower. We find a way to break the blood oath. Invalidate the contract. It's been done before. Rare, but possible. How? I don't know yet. His eyes met hers. But I'm the king of Nephilim. I have resources, contacts, and now I have motivation. His hand finally touched her face, fingers ghosting along her jaw. The contact sent electricity straight to her spine. I can't let you die, Nina. The bond won't allow it. Which means I'm going to fight heaven itself if that's what it takes. She should pull away. Should run. Should do anything except lean into his touch like a flower toward the sun. Why should I trust you? She whispered. You admitted you spent 3 weeks planning my murder. You shouldn't trust me. His thumb traced her cheekbone. But you don't have better options. Those hunters will be back. You can't hide from them alone. You need me. I hate this. I know. His forehead dropped to hers. This close, she could see his pulse beating in his throat. Too slow. Hypnotic. I hate it too. The bond hummed between them, warm and terrible and undeniable. Nina closed her eyes, made her choice. How long do we have? Before they come back? Hours, maybe. Before the council's deadline? His breath ghosted across her lips. 11 months, 26 days. Then we'd better get started. The Nephilim sanctuary was buried beneath an abandoned subway station in old São Paulo. Nina followed Cale down crumbling concrete steps, past graffiti that seemed to writhe in the beam of her phone's flashlight. The air grew colder with each descent. Damper. She could taste copper on her tongue again, mixed with something organic and ancient, like old books and older blood. How far down does this go? Her voice echoed off tile walls. Far enough that celestial radar can't penetrate. Cale didn't slow his pace. Silver and iron in the foundation, bones in the mortar. The church built this place in 1873. They knew what they were doing. The church knows about Nephilim. The church has always known about us. They just don't advertise it in Sunday sermons. He stopped at a reinforced door. No handle, no lock that Nina could see. Kyle pressed his palm flat against the metal. It glowed crimson where he touched it, light spreading in geometric patterns like circuit boards. Some orders still hunt us. Others made treaties. It's complicated. The door swung open. Nina's breath caught. The sanctuary stretched impossibly vast. Cathedral ceilings lost in shadow. columns that looked carved from single pieces of black marble. Braziers burned with flames that gave off no smoke, casting. Everything in shades of amber and gold. And everywhere, carved into every surface, were symbols. Some she recognized from her grandmother's old prayer books. Others made her eyes hurt to look at directly. "Welcome to the refuge," Kale said. "Home to roughly 200 Nephilim who haven't been executed yet." Movement in the shadows. Nina tensed. A woman emerged into the light. Tall, silver hair despite looking barely 30. Eyes that matched Kale's, one gold and one crimson, but mirrored. She moved with liquid grace, bare feet silent on stone. "Brother." Her voice was music and broken glass. "You brought a human here. That's bold even for you." "Mara." Kale stepped between Nina and the woman. Protective. "She's under my protection, bond-marked. No one touches her." Mara's eyes widened fractionally. Then she laughed, bright and dangerous. "Oh, this is delicious. The great King Kyle, bound to a human. Does the council know?" "Not yet. They will soon enough." Mara circled them slowly. Nina felt like prey being assessed. The hunters she escaped from will report the interference. Zadkiel will come himself. She paused in front of Nina, studying her face. "You're pretty, fragile-looking. I give you 3 days before you run screaming." "Mara." Kale's voice dropped to a growl. "What?" "I'm being honest. Humans don't last here. Too much reality for their soft little minds." But her smile softened slightly. "Though I suppose if you're bond-marked, you don't have much choice." "Poor thing." Nina found her voice. "I can hear you, you know." "Oh, good. She has a spine." Mara's grin widened. "You'll need it. Come on then. If you're staying, you need warding. Can't have the angels tracking you through your dreams." She swept away down a corridor. Kyle touched Nina's elbow, guiding her forward. His hand was warm through her jacket, grounding. She focused on that contact as they walked deeper into the sanctuary. More Nephilim appeared in doorways and alcoves, watching. Some looked human until they moved. Then something in their grace gave them away. Others were obviously other. A man whose shadow moved independently. A woman with wings folded against her back. Feathers that shimmered between white and black. A child, maybe 10 years old, whose skin glowed faintly from within. They all stared at Nina. "Do they know?" she whispered to Kale. "About the contract? About me? They know I left on council business. They know I came back with you instead of a corpse." His jaw tightened. "They'll have questions." Mara led them to a circular chamber. More symbols covered the floor here, inlaid in silver and what looked disturbingly like bone. Candles burned at cardinal points. In the center sat an older man, cross-legged, eyes closed. His hair was white as fresh snow. His skin was covered in scars that looked like writing. "Master Tobias," Mara said softly. "The king brings a human for warding." Tobias opened his eyes. They were completely white. No iris. No pupil. Nina's stomach lurched. A human. His voice rasped like wind through dead leaves. "No, not quite human anymore. She bears the mark." His sightless gaze fixed on her with impossible accuracy. "Come here, child." Nina looked at Kale. He nodded. She stepped forward, forcing her legs to move. Tobias reached up, took her hand. His skin was cold, dry as paper. "You've been kissed by duality. Angel and demon both recognize you now. Dangerous. Very dangerous." His grip tightened. "You feel it. Don't." "You?" "The bond, like hooks in your chest, pulling you toward him even when you want to run." "Yes," Nina breathed. "Good. Honesty will keep you alive longer than bravery here." He released her hand, gestured to the floor. "Sit. This will hurt." "How much?" "Enough." His smile was not reassuring. "The warding burns divine marks into your aura. It hides you from celestial sight, but the process is unpleasant. You may scream. Most do. Nina sat. The stone was cold beneath her. Will it work? For a time, a few weeks, maybe a month if we're lucky. Powerful angels can burn through wards if they're motivated enough. Tobias began drawing symbols in the air with his fingers. They glowed, hanging suspended. And Zadkiel is very motivated. He's been hunting Lucia's line for over a century. You know about the debt, Nina said. Everyone knows. Tobias's hands moved faster. The symbols multiplied. The council made an example of your family. A warning about the price of defying heaven. They've been quite public about it in our circles. Anger flared hot in Nina's chest. So everyone just watched. Let them kill my family one by one? What would you have us do? Tobias's voice was gentle, sad. We are the abandoned, the cursed. We have no power against the council. We survive in shadows and cracks and forgotten places. We do not fight angels and win. Then what's the point? Nina's voice cracked. What's the point of surviving if you can't even help someone? Surviving is the point. Kale spoke from behind her. When both sides want you dead, staying alive is victory enough. Tobias nodded. The king understands. Perhaps you will too in time. He placed his hands on her shoulders. Now, hold very still, and try not to move when it burns. The first symbol touched her skin like a brand. Nina screamed. Fire raced through her veins. Not metaphorical fire. Actual burning, like her blood had been replaced with acid. She tried to jerk away, but Tobias held her firm. Another symbol. Another wave of agony. She could smell her own skin burning even though nothing visible changed. Through the pain, she felt it. The bond. Kale's presence in her mind, his horror at her suffering, his helpless rage. She latched onto that connection like a lifeline, used it to anchor herself while Tobias carved invisible marks into her soul. She lost track of time, lost track of how many symbols, lost track of everything except pain, and Kale's steady presence in the back of her mind, holding her together. Finally, it stopped. Nina collapsed forward. Hands caught her. Kyle. He knelt beside her, face stricken. That looked worse than it should have been. Her bloodline makes her reactive, Tobias said, breathing hard. Divine marks burn hotter on those already touched by heaven's attention. But it's done. She's warded, for now. Kale lifted Nina easily, cradled her against his chest. She should protest, should insist she could walk, but her body felt like wet paper. Her head lolled against his shoulder. I've got you, he murmured. Rest. Can't, she managed. We need to find a way to break the contract. We will, tomorrow. Right now you need sleep. He carried her through winding corridors to a small room. A bed. Simple. Clean. He laid her down carefully, pulled a blanket over her. Stay, Nina whispered. Her hand caught his wrist. Through the touch, the bond pulsed stronger. She could feel his exhaustion, his worry, his guilt that felt like broken glass in her chest. Please, I don't want to be alone. Kale hesitated. Then he sat on the edge of the bed. His hand found hers under the blanket, threaded their fingers together. I'm here, he said. I'm not going anywhere. Nina's eyes drifted shut. The bond hummed between them, warm and terrible. She could feel his heartbeat syncing with hers. Slow, steady, wrong and right all at once. Just before sleep took her, she felt it. A spike of emotion from him. Sharp, painful. She couldn't identify it exactly. Grief maybe, or regret, or something worse. But his thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, and that small gesture felt like a promise. She chose to believe it. Nina woke to the sound of steel on steel. She sat up, disoriented. The room was still dark, still underground. For a moment she'd forgotten where she was, Then the bond pulsed, warm and insistent, and she remembered everything. The sound came again. Metal clashing, grunts of effort. She followed it down the corridor, past sleeping chambers and empty halls, until she found the training room. Kale fought like violence given form. He moved against 3 opponents at once. 2 men and a woman, all Nephilim, all armed. They came at him in coordinated strikes, and he dismantled them systematically. Brutal efficiency, no wasted movement. His shirt was gone. Sweat gleamed on skin that showed too many scars. Long white lines across his ribs. A puckered burn on his shoulder blade that looked like a handprint. Nina's. Breath caught when his eyes flickered. Gold to crimson and back. Fighting some internal battle that had nothing to do with the sparring match. He disarmed the woman with a twist of his wrist. Swept the first man's legs. Caught the second man's blade between his palms, stopping it an inch from his throat. For one heartbeat, his eyes went completely black. The air around him darkened. Shadows pooled at his feet like spilled ink. Then he released the blade. Stepped back, breathing hard. "Enough," he said. The other Nephilim retreated, giving him space. The woman rubbed her wrist where he'd gripped it. "You're getting worse, my lord. That's the 3rd time this week your demon half nearly broke through during training." "I'm aware." Kyle's voice was clipped. He turned, saw Nina watching. Something shifted in his expression. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough." She moved into the room. Your eyes went black. "Yes." "That's the demon side?" "Yes." He grabbed a towel, wiped his face. Nephilim exist in balance. Angel and demon in constant negotiation. Most days I maintain control. But stress, violence, strong emotion, they tip the scales, make one side try to dominate. Nina studied the scars on his back. There were dozens. Some looked like claw marks, others like burns. One ran from his shoulder to his hip in a clean line that could only be a blade. "How old are you?" 237. She'd expected it. Didn't make it less surreal. "And you've been fighting that long?" "Longer. I was born fighting. Nephilim don't get childhoods. We come into the world already at war with ourselves." He pulled on a clean shirt. "Why are you awake? It's barely dawn. Felt you through the bond. Your emotions woke me." Nina crossed her arms. "You're angry and scared. I can't tell which is stronger." His jaw tightened. "The bond shouldn't be that clear yet. It takes weeks to develop that level of sensitivity. Well, apparently I'm an overachiever." She held his gaze. "What happened? What made you lose control just now?" Kyle was silent for a long moment. The other Nephilim had quietly left, giving them privacy. Finally, he spoke. "I got word from my contact in the Celestial Territories. Zadkiel is mobilizing. He's bringing a full Inquisition squad to São Paulo. 6 angels, all combat trained, all authorized for lethal force." Nina's stomach dropped. "When?" "They'll arrive in 72 hours, maybe less." He moved closer. She could smell him now. Sweat and something else. Ozone and dark spices. "The warding Tobias gave you will slow them down but not stop them. They'll tear this city apart looking for you. Then I'll leave. Go somewhere remote. Buy us more time. They'll follow you anywhere. Angels don't need planes or passports." His hand came up, hesitated, then touched her face. The contact sent heat spiraling through her. "And the bond. Distance hurts. I tested it this morning. Walked to the far end of the sanctuary. Felt like someone was pulling my ribs out through my chest." Nina had felt it too. That stretching sensation. That wrongness. How far can we get before it's unbearable? Maybe a mile, 2 if we're lucky. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "We're tethered now, Nina. Neither of us goes anywhere without the other." She should hate that. Should rage against being bound to someone she barely knew. But the touch of his hand felt like the only solid thing in a tilting world. Then what? Do? We fight, His eyes met hers, gold and crimson and absolutely serious. "I've been making calls, cashing in favors. There's someone who might be able to help us. A scholar. She specializes in celestial contracts and blood oaths." "Where is she?" "Rio de Janeiro, 300 miles south. We'd need to drive. Stay off Angel radar." His hand dropped. "But there's a problem. The route takes us through territory controlled by a rival Nephilim faction. They don't acknowledge my authority. Taking you through their land while you're marked by the council? It's a risk. Everything is a risk now." Nina straightened. "When do we leave?" "Tonight. After dark. We'll have better cover." He studied her face. "You should eat. Rest. Training doesn't hurt either. You need to know basic defense. I took a self-defense class in college." His mouth quirked. Almost a smile. "Human self-defense won't work on angels, but I can teach you things that might. If you're willing to learn." Nina thought of the thing in white grabbing her wrist. That cold, empty touch. The certainty that she was going to die in that alley. "Teach me." They spent the next 4 hours in the training room. Kale was a brutal teacher. Patient, but unrelenting. He showed her pressure points that worked on supernatural beings. Taught her to recognize the signs of angelic presence. The drop in temperature. The smell of ozone. The way light bent wrong. Made her practice dodging until her muscles screamed. "Angels are fast," he said, coming at her again. "Faster than you can process. But they're arrogant. They follow patterns. Learn to read the tells." Nina tried to block, failed. His hand wrapped around her throat, gentle but unyielding. "Dead. Again." She pulled free, breathing hard. They went again, and again. By the 10th round, Nina started seeing it. The slight shift of his weight before he moved. The flicker in his eyes. She ducked his grab, twisted, drove her elbow toward his solar plexus. He caught it, but he was grinning. Better. Much better. The bond flared between them, his pride mixing with her exhaustion, mixing with something else. Something warm and dangerous that made her too aware of how close they were standing. How his hand still gripped her arm. How his chest rose and fell with breath that matched hers. Nina stepped back. "I need water." "Nina, water, please." He let her go. She crossed to the corner, drank from a communal bottle with shaking hands. The bond hummed. Constantly now. A live wire under her skin. She could feel his presence behind her without turning around. Could sense his confusion and his want and his guilt all tangled together. "The angel who's coming," she said to the wall. "Zadkiel. You know him." "Yes." "Tell me about him." Silence. Then, "He's old. One of the original inquisitors. He was there when the council first started hunting Nephilim children. He's the one who killed my mother." Nina turned. Kyle's face was carefully blank. But his eyes had gone more crimson than gold. "He burned our settlement. I was 12. Human years, 12. Serafina was 6. We watched him execute 37 people. Our crime was existing. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me what I am." His smile was razor sharp. "The council created their own enemy that day. Every Nephilim I've saved, every safe house I've built, every contract I've broken. It's all because Zadkiel taught me that mercy from angels is a lie." Nina moved closer. Slowly. Like approaching a wounded animal. "Is that why you took the contract to kill me? To get close to him? To get revenge?" "Partially." His voice dropped. "The council has Serafina in a celestial prison. She's been there for 183 years because she dared to speak against their genocide. They use her as leverage. Behave, Kyle, or your sister suffers. Your death was supposed to buy her freedom, a trade, one innocent life for another. But you didn't go through with it. No." He reached out, pulled her against him. She went without resistance, his arms wrapped around her, solid and warm. The bond formed, and suddenly I couldn't imagine a world where your heart stopped beating because I'd feel it stop, would feel you die through our connection. So I chose you. Chose a woman I'd just met over my sister who I've loved for centuries. Nina felt wetness on her cheeks. Wasn't sure if she was crying for herself, or for him, or for Serafina, trapped somewhere dark and cold. We'll find another way. We'll break the contract and free your sister, and there might not be another way. His voice was raw. That's what terrifies me, that I'll have to choose, your life or hers, and the bond won't let me choose her. His forehead pressed against hers. Through the connection, she felt everything. His love for his sister, his rage at the council, his growing need for Nina that had nothing to do with the bond and everything to do with how she'd looked at him in the alley, desperate and brave and so breakable, and underneath it all, the war, angel and demon fighting for dominance, light and dark tearing him apart from the inside. When you lose control, Nina whispered, when your eyes go black, what does it feel like? Like drowning, like my humanity is being stripped away and all that's left is appetite, hunger. The demon wants to consume everything, burn it down. Start with the angels and end with the world. His hands fisted in her shirt. I fight it. Every day, every hour. The bond makes it worse. You make it worse. How? Because I want you. His voice was barely audible. Want you in ways that have nothing to do with celestial law or blood oaths. And want is dangerous. Want feeds the demon, makes it stronger. Nina pulled back enough to see his face. His eyes were half crimson now. Fighting. Always fighting. Then let's use that. Channel it. You want to protect me? Then teach me everything. Make me strong enough that maybe, just maybe, we both survive this. Something flickered across his expression. Hope, maybe, or fear. You're asking me to push you harder. I'm asking you to treat me like I matter, like I'm worth the fight. She held his gaze. Am I? Yes. No hesitation. God help me. Yes. He kissed her then. Not gentle. Not asking permission. His mouth claimed hers like he was trying to prove something. To himself or to her or to the universe that kept trying to tear them apart. Nina kissed him back. Tasted his desperation and his rage and his terrible, fragile hope. The bond sang between them, no longer just warm, but burning. Electric, alive. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had shifted. More gold than crimson. The angel winning, for now. 72 hours, he said. Then Zadkiel comes. We need to be gone before then. Then we'd better make them count. The road to Rio stretched empty beneath a moonless sky. Nina watched the landscape blur past through the passenger window. They'd been driving for 3 hours in a stolen sedan that Kyle swore was borrowed with permission. The bond hummed steadily between them, less painful now that they'd learned to exist in each other's emotional space. Still strange, still invasive, but bearable. Tell me about the scholar, Nina said, breaking the silence. Kyle's hands tightened on the wheel. Her name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. She's human, but she spent 40 years studying celestial law. Has access to texts that most angels don't, even know exist. If anyone can find a loophole in your blood oath, it's her. And she'll help us because I saved her daughter's life 8 years ago. Nephilim debt. She owes me. His jaw worked. Though bringing you to her puts her at risk. The council doesn't look kindly on humans who help oathbreakers. Nina studied his profile. The strong line of his jaw. The way his eyes caught the dashboard light, reflecting gold and crimson. You've saved a lot of people, haven't you? Built your whole life around it. Someone has to. His voice was flat. The council exterminates anything they consider impure. Nephilim. Witches. Humans who see too much. I can't save everyone, but I save who I can. Your sister would be proud. His expression cracked. Just for a moment. Then he rebuilt the walls. Serafina was always the idealist, believed we could change the system from within, make angels see us as equals instead of mistakes. His laugh was bitter. She was 16 when they arrested her. Still believed in justice, in mercy. Prison broke that belief, but it couldn't break her. She's stronger than me in ways that matter. Nina reached across the console, found his hand. Their fingers laced together. Through the bond, she felt his grief like a physical weight. 2 centuries of missing someone, of holding hope that had calcified into something harder and sharper. We'll get her out. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. She squeezed his hand. And you taught me that surviving is victory. So we survive, both of us. And then we find her. Kale's thumb traced circles on her palm. The gesture was becoming familiar, grounding. You're different than I expected. What did you expect? Someone who'd break easier, run faster, hate me more. He glanced at her. You should hate me, Nina. I stalked you, planned your murder, dragged you into a war you didn't ask for. I should, she agreed, but the bond won't let me lie to myself about what I feel. And what I feel is complicated. You terrify me, but you also make me feel safer than I have in years. That's probably sick. Definitely sick. But he smiled. Small. Real. The bond doesn't create feelings. It amplifies what's already there. If you felt nothing for me, being connected wouldn't change that. So what does it mean that I feel this? Nina gestured between them. This pull. This need to be near you that has nothing to do with physical distance? It means we're in trouble. His smile faded. Because what we feel. It makes us vulnerable. Makes us exploitable. Zadkiel will use it against us if he can. Nina was about to respond when Kyle swore. Loud and vicious. He yanked the wheel hard right, pulling onto a dirt road. What? We're being followed. His eyes checked the rearview mirror. Black SUV. Been behind us for the last 20 miles. Just turned when we did. Nina twisted to look. Headlights pierced the darkness behind them. Close. Too close. Angels. Worse. Nephilim. The car accelerated. Trees whipped past in a blur. We're in rival territory now. I'd hoped we'd make it through without being noticed. Can you fight them? Not without using power. And using power this close to Rio will alert every supernatural entity within 50 miles. His knuckles went white on the wheel, including any angels stationed there. The SUV rammed them from behind. Nina's head snapped forward, her seatbelt locked. Kale fought to keep control as they fishtailed. He accelerated harder, the sedan's engine screaming in protest. There's a gun in the glove box, Kale said through gritted teeth. Bullets are iron and silver. Won't kill Nephilim, but it'll slow them down. Nina fumbled the compartment open. The gun was heavier than she expected. Cold. Real. I've never shot anyone. Today's full of firsts. Another impact. The back window exploded inward, spraying glass. Aim for center mass, don't overthink it. Nina twisted in her seat, punched out the remaining glass. The SUV was right behind them. She could see the driver now. A woman with white blonde hair, eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. Not human. Never human. Nina aimed, fired. The recoil jarred her shoulder. The bullet sparked off the SUV's hood. She fired again. This time the windshield cracked. The SUV swerved, but didn't slow. They're going to run us off the road, Kale said. When I say jump, you jump. Don't hesitate. Don't think. Just move. What about you? I'll be right. Behind you. His eyes met hers. Gold and crimson and absolutely serious. Trust me. The road curved ahead. Steep embankment on the right. Dense forest on the left. Kyle pushed the accelerator to the floor. The sedan screamed. The SUV matched their speed, pulling alongside them. The blonde woman leaned out the window. Nina saw the gun in her hand. Now! Kale grabbed Nina's jacket, pulled hard. They tumbled sideways as bullets shredded the driver's seat. The door flew open. They hit the ground, rolling, momentum carrying them into the underbrush. Behind them, metal shrieked. The sedan veered wildly, crashed into a tree, burst into flames. Nina lay on her back, gasping. Every inch of her body screamed. Through the bond, she felt Kale's pain echoing her own, his fear, his rage. He was on his feet in seconds, pulling her up. Run! They plunged into the forest. Branches tore at Nina's face and arms. Her lungs burned. Behind them, car doors slammed. Voices called out. Hunting. Kale's hand was an iron grip on her wrist. He moved like he could see in the dark. Maybe he could. Nina just tried not to fall, tried not to think about the creatures behind them, tried not to feel the bond pulling taut with Kale's barely controlled violence. They burst into a clearing. Kyle stopped so suddenly Nina crashed into his back. 3 Nephilim stood waiting. The blonde from the SUV, a massive man with scars covering his bare arms, and a smaller figure in a hood. They'd circled around. Cut off. Escape. King Kale. The blonde's voice dripped mockery. Trespassing in Lord Azrael's territory, with a human pet. How the mighty have fallen. Lucia. Kale stepped in front of Nina. Protective. I claimed safe passage. Ancient protocol. You have no right to. Ancient protocol died when you killed Lord Marcus and seized his territory. Lucia's smile was all teeth. Azrael doesn't recognize your authority, doesn't recognize your precious protocols. You're in our land now. And that human? She pointed at Nina. She reeks of celestial attention, bringing heat down on us. She's under my protection. Your protection means nothing here. The hooded figure stepped forward, pushed back their hood. A boy. Couldn't be more than 17. His eyes were solid black. No gold at all. Pure demon. Lord Azrael wants her. Wants to know why the council is so interested. Wants to know if she's worth selling to the highest bidder. Nina's blood went cold. You'd hand me over to the angels? We'd hand you over to whoever pays best. The boy's grin was feral. Angels. Demons. Doesn't matter. Neutrality keeps us alive. Kale's presence in the bond shifted. Something dark uncoiling. Nina felt it like ice water down her spine. You lay one hand on her, and Azrael will find pieces of you scattered across 3 states. Big words. Lucia drew a blade. Silver, etched with symbols that made Nina's eyes hurt. Let's see if you can back them up without revealing yourself to every angel in Brazil. She attacked. Kale moved faster than Nina's eyes could track, met Lucia's blade with his bare hand. The silver cut deep. Blood welled, black as ink. But he didn't flinch. Just twisted, disarmed her, threw her into a tree with force that cracked wood. The massive man charged. Kale sidestepped, drove his fist into the man's kidney. Once, twice. The third strike sent the Nephilim to his knees, coughing blood. But it was the boy who scared Nina most. He didn't attack Kale. He came straight. For her. Nina raised the gun. Fired. The bullet caught him in the shoulder. He staggered. Kept coming. She fired again. Center mass. He went down. Then he stood back up. Iron hurts, the boy said, pulling the bullets from his flesh. But I'm old. Real old. Older than this body looks. And old demons don't die easy. He lunged. Nina tried to dodge. Too slow. His hand closed around her throat. That cold, empty touch. Just like the angels. But worse. This cold came from below, not above. From depths that had never seen light. Through the bond, Nina felt Kyle's horror. His rage. His choice. He screamed. A sound that wasn't human. Wasn't angel. Pure demon. Darkness exploded from him like a shockwave. Nina felt it pass through her, felt it rip the boy's hand away. felt it slam all 3 Nephilim back with force that shattered trees. When she could see again, Cale stood in the center of the clearing. His eyes were completely black. No gold, no crimson, just void. Shadows writhed around, him like living things. His veins stood out against his skin, black as ink, pulsing with something that made reality bend wrong around them. "Run," he said. His voice was layered, multiple tones, multiple beings speaking through one throat. "Nina, run, now." She understood. He was losing control. The demon side was taking over. And if it won completely, he might not recognize her, might not stop. But she also knew that running meant leaving him, meant letting him fight this battle alone. And the bond wouldn't let her do that. Physically wouldn't let her. Nina stepped closer instead. "Cale, I said run." The shadows lashed out, missed her by inches, carved gouges in the earth. "No." Another step. "You don't get to save me and then lose yourself. That's not how this works." His head snapped toward her, those black eyes focused. Predator recognizing prey. "I can't control it. Can't stop. You need to..." Nina grabbed his face, pulled him down, kissed him, poured everything through the bond. Her fear, her trust, her absolute refusal to leave, her belief that he was stronger than the demon, that he could fight this, that she was worth fighting for. For one terrible moment, nothing changed. Then gold bled back into his eyes. Just a spark, but it was enough. Cale gasped, pulled her against him. The shadows receded, his veins faded back to normal. His body shook like he'd been electrocuted. "You stupid, reckless..." He couldn't finish, just held her. They felt that. Every angel within 100 miles felt that. Zadkiel knows exactly where we are now. Behind them, the 3 Nephilim lay unconscious, breathing but broken. Nina looked up at Cale's face, saw the gold and crimson fighting for dominance, saw the man between them, exhausted and terrified. "Then we'd better hurry. How far to Dr. Tanaka?" 40 miles. He swayed. Using that much power had cost him. "We need a car." "Then let's take theirs." Nina picked up Lucia's blade. The silver burned her palm, but she didn't drop it. "And Cale, next time you tell me to run, I'm not listening." Despite everything, he laughed. Broken and real. "I know." They staggered toward the SUV. Behind them, the forest burned with black fire that would bring hunters, angels, death. But they were still alive, still together, still fighting. And that, Nina thought, would have to be enough. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's home was a fortress disguised as a beach house. Nina saw the wards as they approached, invisible to normal sight. But the warding. Tobias had burned into or made them visible, glowing lines of silver and gold crisscrossing the property, symbols carved into fence posts, salt lines that sparked faintly in the pre-dawn light. "She's expecting trouble," Kyle said. His voice was hoarse. He'd barely spoken during the drive. The demon episode had drained him. Nina could feel his exhaustion through the bond, feel the war still raging inside him. Angel and demon locked in stalemate, both trying to recover enough strength to fight. For dominance again. They ditched the SUV 10 miles back, walked the rest. Kyle leaned on her more than he'd admit, his weight against her shoulder. His breathing labored. Whatever he'd done in that clearing had cost him more than just power. It had cost him control. And control was the only thing keeping him human. Nina knocked on the door. 3 times. Pause. Twice more. The code Kyle had given her. The door opened immediately. Dr. Tanaka was smaller than Nina expected. Maybe 5 feet tall. Silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. Wire-rimmed glasses. She looked like someone's grandmother. Right up until you saw her eyes. Sharp. Calculating. Eyes that had seen things no human should see and cataloged them all. "You're late," she said. "And you brought celestial attention." I have 6 angels circling my property right now. They can't cross the wards, but they're not leaving. Zadkiel? Kyle asked. Not yet. Scouts. But he'll come. Maybe an hour, maybe less. Dr. Tanaka stepped aside. Get in. Both of you. Quickly. The interior was a library that happened to have living space. Books everywhere. Floor to ceiling. Stacked on tables. Piled in corners. Ancient text bound in leather that looked disturbingly like skin. Modern printouts. Scrolls. Tablets covered in cuneiform. Dr. Tanaka locked 7 different locks on the door. Drew fresh symbols in salt. Spoke words in a language that made Nina's teeth ache. The wards flared brighter. Settled. That will hold for perhaps 90 minutes. She turned to them. Her gaze swept over Kyle, cataloging his condition. Then fixed on Nina. You're the descendant. Lucia's bloodline. Let me see your hands. Nina held them out. Dr. Tanaka took them, turned them over, examined her palms, traced the lines there with one finger. Her touch was clinical, professional, but Nina felt power in it. Human power. Different from Nephilim, different from angels, but real nonetheless. Strong lifeline, stubborn heartline. And this, she pressed Nina's left palm, right over the pulse point. You've been marked by the bond. Recently. The connection is still forming, still raw. That's good. Easier to work with. Work with how? Nina asked. I'll explain. Sit, both of you. Dr. Tanaka moved to a desk buried under papers. Started pulling out specific documents. First, the bad news. The blood oath binding your family is ironclad. Celestial law, oldest kind. Written in the time before humans had written language. Your great-great-grandmother swore her life in exchange for protection for her village. She received the protection. The village survived the demon infestation. Then she fled before paying the price. So the debt is legitimate, Nina said. Her stomach sank. Legally? Yes. Morally? Dr. Tanaka's smile was thin. The council conveniently fails to mention that the demon infestation was their fault. They were conducting experiments, creating controlled demonic breaches to test their warriors. Lucia's village was collateral damage. They offered her a choice between dying in their ritual or watching everyone she loved be consumed. She chose a third option. Ran. Kale straightened. You have proof of this? Documentation, sealed records. Took me 12 years to obtain copies. Dr. Tanaka spread papers across the desk. Ancient script. Official seals. The council buried this, rewrote the narrative, made Lucia the villain instead of the victim. But the original reports still exist. Hidden. Forgotten. Not destroyed. Nina's hands shook. Her grandmother, her mother, hunted and killed over a lie. Over celestial pride that couldn't admit fault. Can we use this? Expose them? To whom? Angels don't answer to human courts. Don't answer to anyone except their own hierarchy. And that hierarchy already knows. They don't care. Dr. Tanaka's voice was gentle, sad. Which brings us to the good news. There is a way to break the oath. But it requires something the council never expected. A voluntary sacrifice from someone not of Lucia's bloodline. Someone who claims the debt as their own. Takes the burden willingly. Silence fell like a hammer. Nina understood immediately. Felt Kale understand through the bond. His horror, his refusal, his absolute rejection of what Dr. Tanaka was suggesting. No, he said. Absolutely not. It's the only way. Dr. Tanaka looked at him without flinching. You're Nephilim. Angelic blood runs through you. If you claim Nina's debt, if you offer yourself willingly for the ritual, the oath transfers. She goes free. The corruption in Liguria is cleansed. Everyone lives. Everyone except me. Kyle stood, paced, his hands fisted in his hair. You're asking me to let them sacrifice me. to walk into celestial fire and burn, to let Zadkiel. He couldn't finish. Nina felt it through the bond. His terror, not of death, of him, of the angel who'd murdered his mother, who'd tortured his people, who'd held Seraphina prisoner for nearly 2 centuries. Cale would rather die in any other way, by any other hand. There's no other option? Nina's voice cracked. Nothing else? I've spent 40 years studying celestial law. I've consulted every expert still alive, read every text I could find. This is it, the only loophole. Dr. Tanaka removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes. She suddenly looked very old, very tired. I'm sorry, truly. I owe Cale my daughter's life. Telling him this is how I repay that debt. It's bitter, but it's the truth. Then we don't do it. Nina stood, moved to Kyle, took his hands. We find another way. We run. We hide. There is no hiding. Cale's voice was hollow. You heard her. Zadkiel is already here. My power usage marked us like a beacon, and I can't fight him. Not without using more power. Not without losing control completely to the demon side. And if that happens, he met her eyes. I'll kill you myself. Won't mean to. Won't want to. But the demon doesn't discriminate. It consumes everything. So what? Nina's voice rose. You just give up? Walk into celestial fire and let them win? I let you win. His hands cupped her face. I spent 3 weeks planning your death. Then I spent every day since trying to keep you alive. This is how I finish that. How I make it right. I save you. By dying. Tears burned her eyes. That doesn't make it right. That makes it worse. Through the bond, she felt everything. His love for her, that had grown impossibly fast. His guilt over his sister. His bone-deep weariness from 2 centuries of fighting. His relief that it could finally end. That he could stop running. Stop fighting the war inside himself. And beneath it all, his certainty that she would survive this. Would live. Would be free. I can't let you do this, Nina whispered. You don't have a choice. He kissed her forehead. Gentle. Final. The bond won't break until one of us dies. So I die. You live. Simple mathematics. Nothing about this is simple. Nina grabbed his jacket. What about Seraphina? The council promised her freedom for my death. If you die instead, they'll keep her. You'll never save her. She felt it land. That barb. That truth he'd been trying not to think about. His sister. His responsibility. His failure. Cale pulled away. Turned to Dr. Tanaka. The ritual. When does it need to happen? Before Zadkiel takes Nina by force. Once she's in celestial custody, voluntary sacrifice becomes impossible. They'll execute her under original terms. Dr. Tanaka checked her watch. I'd estimate you have less than an hour, probably closer to 30 minutes. Where does it happen? Anywhere with holy ground, a church, a cathedral. Somewhere the veil is thin between worlds. She paused. There's a chapel 2 miles from here, small, old, built on a convergence point. It would work. Kyle nodded. Once, sharp, decided. Then that's where we go. No. Nina moved between him and the door. I won't let you. I'll fight you. You'll live. His eyes met hers, gold and crimson and infinitely sad. You'll live, Nina. You'll go back to your life. Find someone human, someone safe, someone who doesn't bring celestial armies down on your head. And maybe sometimes you'll remember me. Remember that someone thought you were worth dying for. I'll remember you were a coward. Her voice shook. That when it got hard, you took the easy way out. She meant to hurt him, meant to make him angry. Anything to break through his terrible calm. Acceptance. Instead, he smiled. Good. Stay angry. Anger will keep you alive longer than grief. He kissed her. Deep, desperate. pouring 237 years of loneliness into it. All the love he'd never been able to give anyone. All the hope he'd stopped letting himself feel. Nina kissed him back. Tried to memorize everything. The taste of him. The feel of his hands. The way his heart beat too slow against her chest. Tried to push everything through the bond. Her love. Her rage. Her absolute refusal to let this be the end. When they broke apart, both were crying. "The chapel," Kale said to Dr. Tanaka. "Draw me a map." She did. Kale studied it, nodded, turned to the door. Nina grabbed his wrist. "If you walk out that door, if you do this, I'll hate you. Forever. Do you understand? I'll hate you for leaving me, for choosing martyrdom over fighting, for giving up." "I know." He pulled free gently. "But you'll be alive to hate me, and that's enough." He opened the door, stepped into the dawn light, and froze. 6 angels stood in a semicircle, wings spread, armor gleaming, swords drawn, and in the center, taller than the rest, wings of pure white touched with gold at the edges, stood Zadkiel. His eyes found Kale, then Nina. Then he smiled. "How convenient," the angel said. "You've delivered her directly to me. Thank you, Abomination. Your cooperation is noted." Kale's hands began to shake. Nina felt his terror through the bond, felt the demon inside him surge, felt the angel's side recoil, felt him fracturing. "Run," Kale said to her. One last time. "Nina, run." But before she could move, before anyone could move, Zadkiel raised his hand, and the world went white. Nina woke to the smell of incense and burning sage. Her head pounded, her mouth tasted like copper. She tried to move and couldn't. Her arms were bound behind her back, her legs tied to a chair. Thick rope that burned where it touched skin. Not normal rope. Woven with something that made her warding scream in protest. The room was circular. Stone walls, high ceiling lost in shadow, candles everywhere, their flames perfectly still despite the draft she could feel. And carved into every surface, symbols. The same ones from Dr. Tanaka's wards, but inverted. Corrupted. These weren't for protection. They were for containment. "You're awake." Zadkiel stepped into her line of sight. Up close, he was beautiful in a way that made her skin crawl. Too perfect. Too symmetrical. Like looking at a statue that had learned to move. "Good. The ritual requires consciousness. Sleeping sacrifices don't satisfy the oath." Nina's voice came out hoarse. "Where's Kale?" "The Abomination?" Zadkiel's smile was serene. Restrained. Watching. "I thought it poetic. He failed to kill you when ordered. Now he gets to witness the consequence of his disobedience." He moved aside. Nina's heart stopped. Kale hung suspended in the center of the room. Chains wrapped around his wrists, his ankles, his throat. Not normal chains. These glowed white-hot. Celestial metal. Where they touched his skin, they burned. She could smell it. Burning flesh. Could see the smoke rising from the contact points. His head hung forward. Blood dripped from his mouth. From cuts on his face, his chest, his arms. They'd beaten him. Broken him. His eyes were closed, but she felt him through the bond. Felt his agony. His rage. His helpless, consuming horror. "Kale!" Nina struggled against her bonds. The rope bit deeper. Drew. Blood. "Let him go. He's not part of this. The oath is mine. Just mine." On the contrary. Zadkiel circled her slowly, predator inspecting prey. "He made himself part of this when he chose you over his duty. When he formed a bond with oath-marked blood. That was foolish. Bonds can be exploited." He stopped in front of Kale, grabbed his hair, yanked his head up. "Can't they, Abomination?" Kale's eyes opened, one gold, one crimson, both burning with hate. "Touch her again and I'll rip your wings. Off with my teeth." Brave words from someone who can barely move. Zadkiel released him. Kyle's head dropped forward again. "But I appreciate the spirit. Your mother had the same defiance, right up until she burned. Nina felt Kyle's fury spike through the bond, felt the demon inside him surge. The chains flared brighter. He screamed. The sound was agony given voice. "Stop!" Nina's voice cracked. "Please, he's suffering. Just let him go. I'll do the ritual willingly. I'll walk into the fire." "Myself. Just let him go." "No." Zadkiel turned to her. His eyes were pale blue, arctic, empty of anything resembling mercy. "He needs to see this, needs to understand the cost of defying heaven's will. And when you're dead, when your debt is paid, I'll take him back to the council. We have questions about his recent activities, about the sanctuary he's built, about every oathbreaker he's hidden. He'll answer those questions. Eventually. You'll torture him. We'll extract truth." Zadkiel's smile widened. "There's a difference." Through the bond, Nina felt Kale's despair, felt him understand that death would be a mercy he wouldn't receive, that Zadkiel would keep him alive for decades, centuries maybe, breaking him slowly, using him to find every Nephilim in hiding, every human who'd helped them. And there was nothing he could do. The chains held him. The demon inside him raged but couldn't break free without killing Kale in the process. He was trapped, helpless, forced to watch her die. 4 more angels entered the chamber. They wore ceremonial robes, white edged with gold, carried silver bowls, ancient texts bound in leather that made Nina's stomach turn. Human leather. She knew it instinctively, knew these angels had done this before. Many times. "We begin at dawn," Zadkiel announced. 10 minutes. Prepare the circle." The angels moved with practiced efficiency, drew symbols on the floor in something that looked like liquid light, placed the bowls at cardinal points, filled them with oil that smelled of myrrh and something older, something that made Nina's hindbrain scream run even though she couldn't move. Kyle's eyes found hers across the chamber. Through the bond, she felt him trying to speak, trying to reach her. But the chains disrupted the connection, made everything fuzzy, distant, like trying to hear through water. Still, she understood. 3 words, clear despite the interference. "I'm sorry." Nina shook her head, tried to send back her own message. "This isn't your fault. You tried. You fought. That's enough." But she wasn't sure he received it. Wasn't sure anything got through except her terror and her love and her absolute certainty that she was about to die. The eastern window began to glow. Dawn, coming fast. Zadkiel moved to stand before her. In his hands, a knife. The blade was crystal, clear as water, carved with symbols that hurt to look at. "The ritual is simple. Your blood freely given. Your life freely surrendered. The oath is satisfied. The debt paid. The corruption cleansed. Everyone goes home happy. Except me," Nina said. "I'm dead. Your soul will serve heaven. Fuel the purification. Become part of something greater than your small human life." He raised the knife. "You should be honored. I should be alive." Zadkiel paused. Something flickered in his expression, almost like curiosity. "You're not afraid. I smell fear on most sacrifices, especially the guilty ones, but not you." "Why?" Nina met his eyes. "Because I'm not guilty. My great-great-grandmother wasn't guilty. You people destroyed her village and then demanded she die for your mistake. That's not justice. That's murder with paperwork. Careful, girl." Zadkiel's voice dropped. "You speak of things you don't understand. I understand perfectly." Nina's voice was steady, clear. "Dr. Tanaka showed us the records. The real ones. The ones you buried. We know the demon infestation was your fault. We know Lucia was coerced. We know this. Entire blood oath is based on a lie." The chamber went silent. The other angels stopped their preparations, turned to stare at Zadkiel. Something passed between them. Uncertainty, doubt, questions that had been buried for over a century suddenly rising to the surface. Zadkiel's hand tightened on the knife. Those records are classified, sealed by council order. But they exist, Nina pressed forward. Which means everyone here knows I'm right, knows this is murder, not justice, and you're about to make them complicit. Silence! Zadkiel moved faster than sight. The knife pressed against her throat. Cold, sharp. One push and it would be over. You think your words matter? You think angels care about human concepts of fairness? We are law. We are order. We do what must be done. Even when it's wrong? Nina's voice was barely a whisper. Even when you know it's wrong? For one moment, she saw something in his eyes. Something almost human. Doubt, guilt, exhaustion. 2,000 years of following orders, of executing innocents, of telling himself it was necessary, required, just. Then it was gone. Dawn, Zadkiel said. We proceed. He pulled the knife back, prepared to strike. Nina closed her eyes, sent everything she had through the bond. Every ounce of love, every moment of joy she'd found in Cale's arms, every hope for the future they'd never have. I love you. I'm sorry. Live. Please. Just live. The knife descended. Metal shrieked. Nina's eyes flew open. Cale stood between her and Zadkiel. The chains hung broken, melted. His skin was burned black where they'd touched. But he was free. And his eyes. God. His eyes were completely black. Void. Nothing angelic left. Just demon. Pure. Unfettered. Apocalyptic. No, he said. His voice echoed. Layered. Wrong. You don't touch her. Ever. Again. Darkness exploded from him like a nuclear blast. Nina felt it wash over her. Expected pain. Expected death. Instead, it parted around her. Protected her. The bond flaring bright. Using the connection to shield her from Cale's power even as it consumed everything else. The other angels screamed. Were thrown back against the walls. Their holy light flickered. Died. Their wings burned. Feathers falling like snow. Black snow. Zadkiel raised his own power. White light met black shadow. The chamber shook. Stone cracked. The symbols carved into the walls began to bleed. Actual blood. Red and steaming. Abomination! Zadkiel's voice was thunder. You dare raise your hand against E. Heaven's chosen? I dare everything. Cale advanced. Each step left scorched footprints. You killed my mother. You imprisoned my sister. You tortured my people for centuries. And now you try to take the one thing I have left? His smile was razors. I'm going to enjoy this. He moved, became shadow. Reformed behind Zadkiel. Grabbed the angel's wings. Ripped. Zadkiel's scream shattered windows. Cale tore the wings free. Bones, feathers, celestial matter that dissolved into light and ash. Dropped them. Grabbed Zadkiel by the throat, lifted him off the ground. Beg, Cale said. Beg like my mother begged. Like every innocent you've executed begged. Through the bond, Nina felt him. Felt the demon consuming everything. Felt Cale's consciousness drowning in rage and hate and 2 centuries of pain. Felt him slipping away, becoming something that couldn't be called back. Cale! Nina screamed. Stop! You're losing yourself. If you kill him, you'll be gone. The demon will win. You'll be lost forever. He didn't respond. Didn't even acknowledge her voice. Just tightened his grip. Zadkiel's face turned purple. His hands clawed at Cale's wrist. Useless. Nina felt the moment approaching. The point of no return. If Cale killed Zadkiel while this far gone, the demon would never give control back. He'd be lost. A monster. Everything he'd fought against for 237 years would be for nothing. She had one chance. One choice. Nina closed her eyes. Reached for the bond. Grabbed it with everything she had. And pulled. Not trying to communicate. trying to share, trying to force Cale to feel what she felt. Her love, her fear for him, her absolute refusal to lose him to the darkness, her certainty that he was more than demon, more than angel, that he was Cale. And Cale wouldn't do this. The bond screamed in protest. Wasn't meant to be used this way. She felt it tearing, felt something fundamental breaking between them. But she didn't stop. Kept pulling. Kept, forcing him to feel. To remember. To come back. Cale's hand opened. Zadkiel fell, gasped, crawled away. Cale turned to Nina. His eyes were still black, but gold flickered at the edges. Fighting, struggling, coming back. "Nina," he rasped. "What did you do?" "Saved you," she whispered. "Like you saved me." He collapsed. Nina caught Cale before he hit the ground. His weight dragged them both down. She cradled his head in her lap, fingers trembling as she checked for a pulse. There. Faint. Too. Slow. His skin was cold, clammy. The veins in his neck still pulsed black, but the color was fading. Slowly, like poison being filtered from his system. Around them, the chamber lay in ruins. 3 angels unconscious, 2 others fled, and Zadkiel. He leaned against the far wall, wingless, broken, staring at them with something that might have been understanding. Might have been hate. Might have been both. "You destroyed the bond," Zadkiel said. His voice was raw, damaged. I felt it break. Felt the connection sever. Nina had felt it too. That tearing sensation. Like something vital had been ripped from her chest. The constant hum of Cale's presence in her mind was gone. Just silence now. Empty space where he used to be. "I didn't have a choice," Nina said. Her own voice sounded hollow. "He was losing himself. I had to pull him back." "Noble. Stupid." Zadkiel coughed, blood on his lips. Breaking a mate bond from the inside kills most people. The psychic backlash alone should have stopped your heart. But you're still breathing. He's still breathing. How? Nina didn't know. Didn't care. She pressed her hand to Cale's chest, felt his heartbeat strengthen, felt his eyes moving beneath closed lids, fighting to wake, fighting to come back. "The ritual," she said. "Is it void? Without the bond, does the debt still transfer?" Zadkiel laughed. It came out wet, pained. "You think I care about the ritual? Look at me, girl. I'm ruined. Wingless. The council will execute me for failure. For allowing an abomination to mutilate a seraph." He pushed himself upright. Swayed. "Your debt, my mission, all of it is meaningless now." "Then let us go." "Why would I?" His eyes focused on her. Still that Arctic blue. Still empty. But something had shifted. "You have information. About the sealed records. About council experiments. That makes you dangerous. Makes you worth silencing." He took a step forward. Cale's eyes snapped open. Pure gold. The demon was gone. Retreated. Leaving only the angel and the man. He sat up despite Nina's protest. Despite his obvious pain. Placed himself between her and Zadkiel. "You want her?" Cale's voice was steady, clear. "You go through me first. And this time, I won't stop until one of us is dead." "You can barely stand," Zadkiel observed. "I can stand long enough." Kyle's hands curled into fists. "You have a choice, Zadkiel. Walk away. Disappear. The council doesn't need to know what happened here. Tell them we died in the demon. Surge. Tell them whatever lie keeps you breathing. Or stay. Fight. And I promise you won't survive it." They stared at each other. 2 beings who'd existed for centuries. Who'd fought on opposite sides of a war neither of them started. Who were both, in their own ways, victims of the same system. Zadkiel spoke first. "The records. The ones Tanaka showed you. Where are they?" "Safe," Nina said. "Backed up. Multiple locations. If anything happens to us, they go public. Every news outlet, every supernatural community, everyone will know what the council did. That's leverage. Zadkiel's smile was bitter. Smart. The council hates embarrassment more than they hate abominations. They'll negotiate, offer you terms. What terms? Kale asked. Exile, probably. Forbid you from entering celestial territory. Restrict your movements. Monitor you constantly. But they won't execute you. Can't risk the records going public. Zadkiel moved toward the door. Limped. His back, where wings used to be, was a ruin of blood and burned flesh. I'll tell them you died. Both of you. Consumed in demonic fire. The debt satisfied in the chaos. They'll believe it. They want to believe it. Want this entire situation buried. He paused at the threshold. Looked back. The girl, Seraphina, Kyle's sister. She's in the 7th sanctum, sub-level 12, cell 347. The guards change shift at midnight. Electronic locks. Code is 792611. His eyes met Kyle's. I was there when they took her. When she spoke against the purges. I was the one who dragged her to that cell. I've spent 183 years telling myself it was necessary, required, just. And now? Kale's voice was soft, dangerous. Now I have no wings, no position, no reason to keep lying. Zadkiel turned away. Save her. Give my failure some meaning. And Kale? He paused. Your mother. At the end. She didn't beg. She spit in my face and told me history would remember us as monsters. She was right. He left. The chamber fell silent except for Nina's breathing. Kyle's. The crackle of dying fires. Did that just happen? Nina asked. Did Zadkiel just give you intel to rescue your sister? Guilt does strange things to angels. Kyle stood slowly, offered his hand, pulled Nina to her feet. Or maybe he's setting a trap. Either way, I have to try. Have to see if she's really there. Nina nodded, started to step away, put distance between them. The absence of the bond was a physical ache, like losing a limb. She could still feel phantom echoes of his presence, still expected to sense his emotions. But there was nothing, just empty air where he used to be. Nina. Kale caught her wrist, gently. What you did. Forcing the bond to break. You could have died. So could you. If I hadn't pulled you back, the demon would have won. You'd be lost. She met his eyes. Gold and crimson. Beautiful. Alive. I'd rather lose the bond than lose you completely. But now we're not connected. We don't feel each other. Don't need each other. His thumb traced her pulse point. You could walk away. Go back to your life. You're free, Nina. The debt is void. Zadkiel confirmed it. You can have everything you lost back. Nina studied his face. The scars. The exhaustion. The hope he was trying to hide. Is that what you want? For me to walk away? I want you to have a choice. For the first time since we met, you have a real choice. Not bound by oath or bond or celestial law. Just you. Deciding what you want. He released her wrist, stepped back. So choose. Nina thought about her apartment, her job, her normal quiet life before all this. Thought about going back to routine, to safety, to a world where angels and demons and Nephilim were just stories. Then she thought about the last 8 days, the terror, the pain, the moments of incredible beauty between the horror. Kale teaching her to fight, Kale holding her while she slept, Kale choosing her over his mission, over his sister, over everything. The bond was gone, but what she felt wasn't. I choose you, Nina said. Not because I have to, because I want to. Because normal life sounds unbearably empty after this. After you. She moved closer. The bond is broken, but I still love you. That doesn't require supernatural connection. That's just me, choosing you. Something broke in Kale's expression. Relief. Joy. Disbelief. He pulled her against him, held her like she might disappear. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not." Nina smiled against his chest. "But you're stuck with me anyway. Besides, you need help rescuing Seraphina, and I've gotten pretty good at the whole defying celestial authority thing." He laughed. Actual laughter. She felt it rumble through his chest, felt him relax for the first time since they'd met. The constant tension, the constant war inside him, had quieted. Not gone, never gone, but manageable. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair, "for saving me, for choosing me, for being stubborn enough to survive. Thank you for being worth it." They stood there as dawnlight filled the ruined chamber, as the last of the celestial fire burned out, as the world outside continued, oblivious to how close it had come to losing them both. Later, they would plan, would contact Dr. Tanaka, would gather resources for the rescue, would figure out how to survive as exiles in a world that wanted them dead, would face whatever came next together. But for now, they just held each other. Two broken people who'd found something worth fighting for. Not destiny, not prophecy, not some grand cosmic plan, just choice and love, and the stubborn refusal to let the world define them. Nina felt Kale's heartbeat against her cheek. Still too slow, still not quite human, but steady, strong, alive. "Where do we go from here?" she asked. "Anywhere." His arms tightened. "Everywhere, as long as it's together." "Together," Nina agreed. "No matter what comes. No matter what comes." The sun rose fully. Light spilled across the floor, across the broken symbols, across two people who'd defied heaven and hell and lived to tell the tale. They'd paid for their survival in blood and pain and broken bonds. They'd carry scars both visible and not. They'd spend the rest of their lives looking over their shoulders, running, hiding, fighting. But they'd do it together. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Nina and Kale's story forces us to confront an impossible question. What would you sacrifice for someone you barely know but can't imagine losing? Would you have the courage to break a supernatural bond to save someone's soul, even if it meant losing the only connection that made you feel less alone? They were given no prophecy, no destined happy ending, no guarantee that love would conquer all. Just two broken people choosing each other in a world designed to keep them apart. They lost the bond that tied them together, but gained something far more powerful: the freedom to choose love without fate forcing their hand. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't staying connected. It's being willing to sever everything that binds you, just to save the person who matters most. Their fight isn't over. Seraphina still waits in that celestial prison. The council still watches from above. And every day, Kale battles the demon inside him without the bond to anchor him to his humanity. But they face it together. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because some connections transcend magic, transcend blood oaths, transcend even the will of heaven itself. Nina chose to stand beside a monster and see the man underneath. Kale chose to believe he was worth saving, worth fighting for, worth loving. And in a universe ruled by destiny and divine law, that choice, that simple human choice, became their greatest rebellion. If this story moved you, if it made you believe that love is worth the scars it leaves behind, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video to help others find Nina and Kale's journey. And follow for more stories about the beautiful, terrible things we do for love. Because in the end, we're all just fighting to be chosen, to matter, to prove that our existence, however brief, however flawed, means something. Thank you for watching.